Hello. Um, okay, so I want to address these recent remarks that are in the news that were made by Nick Cannon and Professor Griff regarding Jews and the Semitic people, the true Semitic people, and that whole thing. You've probably heard about it. If you haven't by now, I'm pretty sure you will, and if you haven't, it'll be pretty easy to find. But, well, I think, first of all, myself being both black and Jewish, I have friends who are both black and Jewish. Some are blacks who are Christians, and some are Jews who are, Ashkenaz or white. And I've been asked, what do you think about this? Do you have any comments or thoughts or whatever? And yeah, I kind of do. Okay, so I thought I'd just put this on video just so it could be said once and for all. And I can share this with them and they can share it with whoever. Okay, so regarding that interview, I watched the whole thing. I think it was something like 90 minutes. It was a long interview. And I did watch the whole thing. I think it's been taken down now from what I hear, from what I understand. My take on it is this. First of all, I think it comes down to the relationship between blacks and Jews. In other words, this discussion, this whole sort of dust up that's taking place, this is not something about history and who the true Semites were. This is not the important issue to my way of understanding. The important issue is the relationship that exists right now between black people and Jewish people. And it seems to have declined from what it was. There was a time in our history when blacks and Jews were much more... Gotta move over a little bit. It's a biker who refuses to ride the bike lane. There was a time when blacks and Jews were closer. We worked together. Our history was one in which Jewish people, white Jewish people, used their white privilege, the color of their skin, to help us, black people, my foreparents, to get ahead. This is not, I'm not talking about little personal interactions here and there, although there were those too. I'm talking about the NAACP, which is an organization that was formed with the help of Jewish people. And when I say help, I'm talking about hands-on, in the room, at the meetings, help by Jewish people. All right? Jewish and blacks work together, along with some whites. Okay? I'm talking about the civil rights movement. Okay? And those marches that took place where Jewish people, especially young Jewish people, got out there. And they were on the front lines. They were on the back lines. They were on the sidelines. They were in the middle. They were marching with black people for our rights to be recognized as 100% true citizens of this country, with the ability to vote, to have the freedom to go any place we wanted, just like anyone else who was white could do. This is something that Jewish kids and Jewish men and women actually did with us and for us as a people. So you've heard of Cheney, Goodman, and Schwartz. Those three names are iconic now with the civil rights movement, in which they actually got on a bus from New York and rode down to Mississippi on their own dime, okay? And the reason that they were there was to help register black people to vote. Because you see, even though we were in America as citizens of this country, the legislature in Mississippi decided that they didn't want us to vote. It'd be best for black people to not vote. And they had all kinds of ways of preventing that from happening. This was recognized by these young Jewish men and women. And we're talking about young people now. We're talking about 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 22-year-olds getting on the bus, all right, providing their own food, their own sustenance to come and participate in this drive. Well, those three, Goodman, Schwartz, and Cheney, they ended up dead, okay? They were murdered. And by the way, Schwartz and Goodman were the two Jewish men, young men, whose bodies were found. Okay? So when I say the Jewish people and the black people worked together, I'm talking about Jewish people left blood on the ground. Do you understand? They left blood on the ground for our benefit, for our marches, for our protests, for our rights. There's other examples. There was a rabbi who marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rabbi Heschel. He was instrumental. Dr. King said this. Rabbi Heschel was instrumental. Is it dark? Let me see if I can get a little bit light. Was instrumental in helping him organize and conduct these marches. He was sort of, in a way, an advisor, and definitely a confidant to Dr. King. So black people and Jewish people worked together for sure in times past, much more closely than it seems that we do now. Because now, I do hear anti-Semitic remarks putting Jewish people down. It's painful when that happens. It's painful to me because I'm a black man who knows our history and how much my own family has been helped by Jewish people in times past, in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and I'm sure beyond. But it's also painful because I'm a Jewish man, and I know the hearts of these people that I go to worship with. I can't sit silently. I can't sit quietly as they are being denigrated as people who want to steal someone's Semitic heritage. I mean, this is one of the subjects that came up in the interview, that the Jews are stealing our Semitic heritage. All right, listen, I mean, here's the thing about that. We can have all kinds of discussions about the Semites of the Levant, the Semitic people of the Levant in ancient times. And I'm under a bridge right now. What do I mean by of the Levant? I'm talking about those people who lived in the area called the Holy Land, as we know it to be called today, and people who want to say that they were black. All right. Were they melanated people? Were the original Hebrews melanated people? Yes, they were. I will say that without hesitation. Will I say that they were black people? I don't know. Because what does black mean? Black is a phenotype. It is a physical characteristic most associated with Pan-Africanism. All right? So I didn't say no. I can't say yes because I don't know. I think any professor of anthropology and archaeology, I think those professors, those people who are studied in those subjects and those disciplines will tell you that those were melanated people. Almost definitely. I don't know if anybody will say 100% yes, but almost definitely they were. However, I fail to see what that has to do with relations with the Jewish people of today. I mean, it's an academic subject, in other words. It's an academic point that we can discuss freely and happily on an academic level. I'm just not sure. I don't see where that becomes such a heavy discussion and that we start to point fingers at the people who have a history of helping us succeed in this nation. Do you follow where I'm coming from here? that's the part that I'm hung up on. Because, when we say, as Nick Cannon did, that they are stealing our identity, our birthright, I think is the actual phrase that he used, that they're stealing or have stolen our birthright. I don't really see how anything's been stolen from us. The reason I say that is because I don't see why I can't, as a black man, just be my Semitic self. If that's who I am, if that's who I claim to be, if that's who I want to be, why can't I just be my Semitic self? Why can't you, if you're black and you're watching this, why can't you just be your Semitic self? I mean, can someone steal that away from you? I don't see how. Are you saying that the man in the synagogue with the pale skin and the wide brim hat and the beard and the curly sideburns and the black coat, you're saying that that man is preventing you from living your Semitic reality? I mean, it sounds like that's what you're saying. It sounds like that's what they were saying, Professor Griff and Nick Cannon, but and a bunch of other people. I don't mean to just pick on those two because I don't see that they're necessarily alone on this. A bunch of other people are saying the same things, but I don't understand how that's the case. Stolen identity, stolen birthright. I'm not quite seeing it. Listen, black man, black woman, if you want to raise your kids as Semites, I don't know of a single Jewish person who's going to protest that. I'm telling you from experience of decades of being Jewish myself, of decades of praying with them, worshiping with them, eating with them, celebrating with them. I don't know of a single one. Now there might be some. There might be some, but I don't know of a single one that if you had a gathering someplace of Semitic black people, that they would come to you or to that location with signs and picketing and, oh no, you're not the Semites, we are. I don't see that ever happening from these people. Now, if there's other things that they're doing that you don't like, all right, well, that's human. I mean, they're human, and just like black people are human, and white people and Hispanics and Asians and everybody else, we know that they do things that we don't like. But this idea that there has to be friction and strife between us, because, well, they're claiming to be descendants of Abraham, but we are the descendants of Abraham, which I don't know if they even actually said Abraham on that interview in particular, but I've heard this before. Listen, I've been stopped in public by, black Hebrew Israelites who question why I wear the Star of David and the kippah, that I wear, and who do I identify with. They don't agree with my particular theology. That's okay. I mean, listen, everybody sees it the way they see it. I would never interfere with their rights to gather and worship and pray and call themselves the true Hebrews. Excuse me. The true Hebrews. That doesn't bother me. Am I a true Hebrew? They tell me I am. But you know what? When I was at the synagogue and I had gone through my conversion, the people there told me I was too. They said, we accept you as us. You are mishpocha. You are family. Never let anyone tell you, this is what they told me, never let anyone tell you that you're not just as Jewish as we are, as I am, as he is, as she is. You are just as Jewish as anybody here. Now, there's going to be, of course, there's going to be people who disagree with that. Jewish people who disagree with that. Christian people who listen, I've had more Christians and Catholics tell me I wasn't Jewish than Jews have told me I wasn't Jewish. Trust me on that. They don't have an axe to grind in this situation. So, listen, the discussion can be had. You want to talk about who's a true Hebrew, who's an original Hebrew of the Levant? Okay, let's talk about it. But let's bring receipts. You know, how we say, you know, in the hood, you know, show me some receipts. I mean, look, let's talk about it from an intellectual, archaeological, you know, paleontological, whatever standpoint. And that's fine. But let's not throw these bombs. And by that I mean, you know, he's not a Hebrew, he's not a Jew. That's a fake. That's an imposter. Those kinds of things are hurtful, and I know that's the intention. You don't call someone a fake and an imposter, not meaning to hurt their feelings, not meaning to rile their anger. So that's never been my style. So I definitely don't comport with that type of behavior. But if somebody says, you know, let's talk about it. You know, who were the true Jews? What did they look like? What was their lifestyle? So on and so forth. Have at it. Listen, be a Hebrew if you want to. Be Semitic if you want to, regardless of your skin color. But let's work together like we used to do. There was a time in our history when we came together as Jews and blacks, because we saw a mutual benefit in working together with each other, for each other, and we made things happen. And we still can. But we have to get off of this them versus us mindset, because that does nothing but cause negative emotions, hurt, division. I don't know if division is an emotion, but you know, there's pain there. So anyway, so that's what I want to say about that subject, and I hope I'm making sense. All right, take care.